For a brand built on permanence, even the idea of disappearance is enough to rattle the market. And right now, America is buzzing with one question. Why does it suddenly feel like Rolex has gone dark? Across the United States, buyers are reporting empty display cases, paused appointments, and doors that feel more symbolic than functional. While Rolex hasn't announced a permanent exit, a near-total retail slowdown has sparked panic in what is arguably its most important market. The United States accounts for an estimated 30% of global Rolex demand, translating to billions of dollars in annual sales. When that market freezes, even temporarily, it sends signals. This scale at which this shift is happening has people feeling concerned. Secondary markets are reacting in real time, with some models jumping while others stall. For a company that produces roughly 1 million watches per year, disruption at the retail level is never accidental, it's strategic, forced, or both. So what's really happening? Is this a coordinated shutdown, a structural reset, or a sign that Rolex is quietly rewriting how it operates in America? In this video, we're unpacking why it feels like Rolex has shut down across the United States, what's actually going on behind the scenes, and how this recent development has left the American luxury market genuinely shaken. Let's find out. Rolex retail network changes. Rolex is one of the most famous luxury watch brands in the world. For many years, people who wanted a Rolex watch had to visit a special store called an authorized dealer. These dealers were chosen by Rolex and given permission to sell its watches to customers. Rolex did not sell watches directly to most people in its own shops. Instead, it worked with partners and local jewelry stores that had been approved by the company. The brand kept strict control over who could sell its watches. This made Rolex watches feel exclusive and special to many buyers. In recent years, however, the way Rolex handles its retail network has been changing. These changes have affected both where customers can buy Rolex watches and how retailers work with the company. In some places, longtime Rolex authorized dealers have faced new challenges, and in other cases, Rolex has been trying new strategies to reshape how its watches are sold in major markets like the United States. One part of these changes is that some authorized Rolex dealers have lost their status. Losing authorized dealer status means that a store that used to sell Rolex watches can no longer sell them. In online watch communities, several people have shared stories from their local stores saying that Rolex ended their relationship as an authorized dealer. In some cases, these changes came suddenly. These changes have sometimes been connected to a wider strategy by Rolex to update the way it works with retail partners. Some reports suggest that Rolex is pushing for larger, more dedicated boutique-style stores instead of smaller shop-in-shop dealers or less formal retail spaces. Some dealers have been asked to pay for major renovations so they can meet new display requirements and create areas in their stores that look more like standalone Rolex spaces. Those that cannot or choose not to do this risk losing their authorized status. The shift also connects to a major move by Rolex in the retail world. In 2023, Rolex announced that it would acquire the global luxury watch retailer Bucherer. Bucherer operates more than 100 retail locations around the world, including a large number of Rolex-authorized stores, and in the United States, it owns the Tourneau chain of watch shops. Rolex said that Bucherer and Tourneau would keep their names and operate as independent companies, but this acquisition gives Rolex a much bigger presence in sales and direct contact with customers than it ever had. This purchase of Bucherer is a huge change because, traditionally, Rolex has insisted it did not want to become a direct retailer. Rolex had always said its relationship with independent authorized dealers was central to its strategy. By buying a major retailer, Rolex moved closer to having a direct hand in how its watches are sold without fully abandoning its authorized dealer network. While Rolex maintains that these relationships with independent dealers will continue, the acquisition and retail strategy changes have made some dealers nervous. Many watch experts and industry watchers have said that independent dealers may face more pressure to modernize their shops and offer a more unified luxury experience that matches Rolex's brand image. Rolex appears to want a more consistent retail presentation across key cities, which is part of why boutique-style stores are becoming more common. At the same time, In the United States, there are clear signs of new boutique openings and dealer transformations. For example, major retailers like Watches of Switzerland have announced plans to convert multi-brand stores into dedicated Rolex boutiques. One such case is the plan to transform the Lenox Square store in Atlanta into a dedicated Rolex boutique, highlighting how dealers and retailers are expanding physical spaces devoted specifically to Rolex. In Miami's design district, Rolex has opened a new boutique operated by Luxury Swiss. This new store is designed to reflect both the local culture and Rolex's classic style, offering a large and immersive space where customers can see the full range of Rolex watches. It shows a commitment to having distinct, big, and impressive stores in major United States cities. These changes in retail spaces go hand in hand with broader industry trends, and Rolex has been adapting to it. Beyond new boutiques, Rolex has introduced the Rolex Certified Pre-Owned (RCPO) program, which allows authorized dealers to sell watches that are certified and guaranteed by Rolex itself. This program has grown quickly, with many authorized dealers now offering certified pre-owned Rolex watches. In 2025, RCPO sales were approaching $600 million, and a large number of certified watches were available through this network. In the end, changes in the retail network show that Rolex is adjusting its strategy in response to new market realities. Rolex still values its authorized dealer model, but it is also creating more direct ways to connect with customers through boutiques and certified programs. This evolution aims to keep the brand strong, consistent, and appealing to wealthy shoppers who expect a refined and distinctive luxury experience. Let's take a look at some of the improvements Rolex has made in respect to customer experience. The rise of flagship boutiques. Rolex has been changing the way it shows and sells its watches to customers in big cities around the world, especially in the United States. For decades, the company relied on local jewelry and watch stores to represent its brand. But now, Rolex is moving toward large flagship boutiques that are dedicated almost entirely to the Rolex experience. These places are meant to be more than just shops. They are designed to show the world what Rolex stands for, from its history and craftsmanship to its connection to culture and luxury. In Miami, Rolex recently opened a massive new store in the Design District, a part of the city known for fashion, art, and luxury brands. This flagship boutique is much larger and more impressive than a typical authorized dealer store. At about 457 square meters spread over 2 floors, the building stands out with a facade that catches the light in shades of turquoise and deep blue, meant to reflect Miami's bright skies and sea. Inside, the space was built to feel open and inviting, while making the watches themselves the center of attention. This Miami flagship is operated by Luxury Swiss, a major Rolex retailer that has worked with the brand for many years. But even though it is run by a partner, the design, layout, and customer experience are closely aligned with Rolex's own vision. The store doesn't just sell watches, it tells a story. The interior design includes materials and motifs that evoke both the Rolex identity and the local Miami atmosphere. The goal is for guests to feel like they are not just entering a store, but a space dedicated to Rolex culture. This trend toward flagship boutiques is part of a larger idea that Rolex wants to control more carefully how customers see and interact with the brand. Instead of having many small corners in jewelry stores, the new boutiques are large, focused, and meant to be destinations in themselves. Some people see these spaces as almost temples to Rolex places, where every detail, from the floor materials to the lighting, is meant to reflect the brand's values of precision, tradition, and excellence. Across the country, Rolex boutiques are also changing in other ways. In New York City, for example, Rolex is preparing a major flagship store that will be part of a larger multi-purpose building on Fifth Avenue. This space will not only serve as retail space but also as headquarters, combining offices with sophisticated showroom floors. This means that instead of many smaller stores around the city, Rolex will focus its presence in one major flagship location that promises to be a central hub for the brand in one of the world's most important luxury markets. With this shift, some long-standing authorized dealer stores are changing how they operate or are being replaced by flagship boutiques. For example, one historic dealer location in New York at 700 Fifth Avenue will stop selling Rolex watches once the new flagship opens. Rolex is concentrating its efforts on a standalone space that brings customers directly into the brand rather than through other retailers. The idea behind these flagship boutiques is not just size, but experience. Rolex wants visitors to feel something the moment they walk through the door. This is why the Miami store's design was so carefully crafted to reflect both Rolex's classic look and the local culture. The boutique uses materials like American walnut and textured details that echo the city's coastal style. There are places inside the store for customers to learn about Rolex history, try on pieces in comfort, and even get services like after-sales care in the same space. Many customers today expect more than a standard retail transaction. They want meaningful experiences that connect them with the products they love. Rolex's flagship boutiques are built with this idea in mind. These stores don't feel like regular watch shops. They feel like carefully curated environments where every element speaks to the legacy and craft of the watches on display. From seating areas to open glass cases that showcase each model clearly, each space is designed to support both discovery and celebration of the brand. In the Miami Design District, Rolex chose a location surrounded by other high-end brands and art galleries. This is intentional. Luxury stores often succeed when they are part of a community of premium brands because shoppers who are interested in one luxury product are often interested in others. By placing a flagship boutique here, Rolex increases the chances that customers already attracted to the area will step inside and spend time with the brand. Flagship boutiques are also part of how Rolex manages its brand image. Rolex watches are known for their durability, design, and long history. The world's most famous athletes, explorers, and public figures have worn them. With new flagship stores, Rolex can highlight these stories by creating spaces that educate visitors about the brand's milestones, innovations, and legacy. This storytelling aspect is something smaller dealer counters can find hard to replicate because they focus more on transactions than on brand immersion. While Rolex still works with authorized dealers, the flagship stores represent a new direction where Rolex can control many parts of the experience, from how watches are presented, to the way customers are welcomed, to the atmosphere that surrounds the brand. Especially in the United States, where major luxury markets are vibrant and competitive, having standout flagship locations becomes a strategic advantage. These flagship spaces also allow Rolex to prepare for future changes in the retail environment. The world of luxury goods is evolving, with more consumers looking for personalized, unique, and memorable experiences. Flagship boutiques give Rolex a chance to meet these expectations directly. The stores become more than points of sale. They become places where collectors and first-time buyers can connect with the history and values that Rolex stands for. As this strategy grows, Rolex will likely continue to create flagship boutiques in other major cities and cultural centers. With careful design, local inspiration, and deep connection to the brand itself, these spaces may shape how people around the world think about and experience Rolex watches. Meanwhile, how does this affect the dealership network, and what would be their fate? The global effect. Rolex is famous for being one of the most tightly controlled luxury brands in the world. The way the company sells and distributes its watches is not random or open to everyone. Instead, Rolex has always used a selective global retail strategy designed to protect its brand and deliver a consistent experience wherever a customer shops. This strategy affects authorized dealers, flagship boutiques, and how customers around the world find and buy Rolex watches. Rolex's selective distribution means it chooses carefully where its watches are sold. It does not sell through ordinary retail stores or mass-market shops. Instead, it relies on authorized dealers and flagship boutiques that meet strict standards for presentation, service, and training. This helps Rolex preserve the image of rarity and desirability that its watches have built over decades. Customers who enter these stores are meant to feel like they are part of an exclusive experience, not just a routine retail transaction. In recent years, this retail strategy has been evolving in many markets. One clear change has been how Rolex manages its authorized dealer network globally. These dealers agree to certain rules about how they present the brand, how staff interact with customers, and how they handle inventory. Rolex watches, especially the most sought-after models, are allocated to these dealers based on strict criteria. Many customers around the world still depend on these dealers to get new Rolex watches. However, the dealer network has changed in size and structure over the past few years. Rolex has reduced the number of sales points worldwide by about 20% over the last 5 years. This means that many smaller or less aligned stores lost their status and no longer sell Rolex watches. In some cases, these changes have hit long-standing independent dealers who had been selling Rolex for decades. This reduction in the dealer network is part of Rolex's effort to concentrate on high-quality, well-presented retail spaces that match its evolving brand image. The shift away from a larger, loose network toward a more controlled one has important consequences. For many small jewelry stores, being a Rolex dealer was a major source of revenue. Losing that designation can weaken their business. Rolex's strategy seems to favor consolidating sales around larger and stronger retail partners that can offer more customer traffic, better presentation, and deeper inventory. This approach also allows Rolex to allocate its most popular models to stores that fit its global retail vision, rather than scattering limited stock across many smaller stores. Despite these strategic changes, Rolex's leadership has publicly emphasized that the company does not plan to abandon its worldwide authorized dealer network. At an industry event, Rolex's CEO Jean-Frédéric Dufour stated that the brand will continue to work with a broad network of independent dealers and has no intention to compete with them through its own direct retail expansion. In many markets, Rolex still depends on its authorized dealers to be the primary sellers of its watches, including both new and certified pre-owned. This approach reflects a broader balancing act. Rolex wants to protect its brand, manage inventory carefully, and ensure customers have a consistent experience no matter where they buy a watch. At the same time, it recognizes that independent dealers are deeply rooted in local markets and have built strong relationships with customers over many years. By keeping these dealers as part of its strategy, Rolex maintains local touchpoints that a global brand on its own might struggle to replace. In some regions, these global changes have specific local effects on how Rolex watches are sold and serviced. In South Africa, Rolex continues to open new boutique-style shops and shop-in-shops within major cities, while also centralizing maintenance and servicing with partner organizations. These developments show how the brand adapts to local market needs while maintaining overall strategic direction. In these locations, customers may find a mix of traditional authorized dealers, expanded store spaces, and certified pre-owned options, all operating under the Rolex framework. The global distribution strategy also affects how customers think about Rolex watches. Because authorized dealers control most of the supply, and because demand for many iconic models far exceeds production, waiting lists have become common. In some cases, customers may be asked to build long-term relationships with dealers and even make additional purchases before they are offered highly desired models. This system reinforces the image of exclusivity, but also ties the retail experience closely to the dealer network itself. This global strategy shows that while Rolex is adapting to changes in the market and exploring new retail channels, it still places a heavy emphasis on the trusted network of authorized dealers and carefully designed distribution systems that have made its brand strong for decades. Here are some reasons why Rolex's strategy aims toward the betterment of both the brand and its customers. Rolex strategy on dealer relationships. Rolex is famous for rarely speaking publicly about how it runs its business, especially when it comes to questions about retail, distribution, and relationships with shops that sell its watches. Most big luxury brands talk often, but Rolex keeps most decisions behind closed doors. That's part of why anything the company's chief executive says in public is newsworthy. In late 2025, Rolex's CEO, Jean-Frédéric Dufour, gave a rare talk about the company's approach to selling watches and working with its dealer network. In a speech at Dubai Watch Week, one of the world's biggest events for luxury watches, Dufour spoke clearly about how Rolex views the role of its authorized dealers. He explained that even after major deals and changes in recent years, like the acquisition of the Swiss retailer Bucherer, Rolex has no intention of replacing the independent dealers that have sold its watches for decades. Those shops are not afterthoughts. They are a central part of how the brand operates around the world. When asked if Rolex might use the stores it now owns, such as Bucherer shops, to replace dealer partners, Dufour was direct. He said the Bucherer deal was a unique opportunity and would remain a very small part of Rolex's overall retail presence. He made it clear that Rolex will continue to rely heavily on its traditional network of authorized dealers, which includes major partners like Siddiqui Holding in the Middle East and other respected retailers globally. Dufour explained that this strategy is not just about tradition, but about trust and collaboration. According to him, Rolex has always succeeded by choosing strong local partners who understand the market and can represent the brand in a way that matches Rolex's values. He said that the company looks for dealers who can speak to customers not just about sales, but about the craft and heritage behind every watch. This personal connection between dealer and customer is something Rolex does not want to lose. The CEO also warned about what can happen when brands try to sell watches purely through digital channels or cut out local relationships. He mentioned the automotive industry as an example of what can go wrong when companies focus too much on automated or impersonal sales models and lose touch with customer loyalty. For Rolex, building long-lasting relationships with clients, not simply making quick sales, is a core part of its retail philosophy. Rolex's commitment to dealer relationships comes at a time when many other parts of the luxury world are changing rapidly. Some brands are pushing their own directly owned stores much more aggressively than in the past, and many are experimenting with online sales channels. Rolex's stance, however, remains that authorized dealers are essential to the brand's identity and success. Dufour stressed that the company will continue to work with these dealers first, even though it now owns some retail spaces through acquisitions. Part of this strategy includes supporting the dealers in ways beyond just selling new watches. Dufour also spoke about Rolex's Certified Pre-Owned (CPO) program, which allows dealers to sell authenticated, used Rolex watches with a factory-backed warranty. According to him, this is a way for dealers to deepen their relationship with customers by offering more trusted options in a market where buyers are increasingly interested in pre-owned luxury items. He said this program helps dealers build long-term trust, rather than focusing only on first-time sales. The relationship between Rolex and its dealers is also shaped by Rolex's global distribution strategy. Instead of flooding the market with watches, Rolex manages supply carefully through its authorized network. Dealers receive allocations of certain models based on criteria like sales history, customer service quality, and the ability to represent the brand. While many customers may feel the process is slow or frustrating, especially for highly sought-after models, Rolex sees this careful allocation as part of maintaining brand prestige and ensuring that demand remains strong worldwide. Analysts and industry insiders have reacted to Dufour's comments in different ways, but many see his remarks as reassurance that Rolex does not intend to harm its dealer ecosystem. Some had worried that owning Bucherer and other retail outlets might signal a move toward replacing independent shops, but the CEO's statements put those fears to rest, saying the acquisition is meant to learn from retail operations, not to dominate them. He described Bucherer as an addition, not a substitute, to Rolex's existing partnerships. This approach also aligns with Rolex's broader philosophy on retail and brand value. When customers enter a Rolex retailer, they are expected to receive top-quality service and learn about the heritage and craftsmanship behind each timepiece. Dealers play a key role in creating that experience, which is why maintaining strong relationships with them is critical to Rolex's identity. But these changes are not without their consequences. Retail consolidation effects on local dealers. In the world of luxury watches, the name Rolex carries a lot of weight. For many local jewelry shops, being an authorized Rolex dealer was a major part of business success. These dealers sold new Rolex watches, handled customer service, and helped build a community of collectors around the brand. But in recent years, changes in how Rolex manages its retail structure have had a big effect on these small to medium locally owned dealers and their customers. Rolex is reshaping its global retail network. Industry experts say the company has already reduced the number of authorized retailers around the world over the past 5 years. That means many stores that once carried Rolex watches no longer do. This reduction is part of a strategy to focus on top-performing dealers and larger-scale retail partners, often with dedicated or premium store designs. For some independent jewelry shops, losing that authorized dealer status can be devastating because Rolex represented a large portion of their annual revenue. When a store loses the right to sell Rolex watches, several immediate effects follow. First, customer traffic at that location tends to drop sharply. People who once visited the store specifically to see Rolex watches stop coming as often. Without those customers, smaller shops can struggle to make enough sales to stay open. Some shops have reported that Rolex made the decision because the store did not fit the brand's future global vision, leaving business owners with little time to adjust. Across online communities, customers and dealership staff themselves have shared stories about these changes. One person posted that their local authorized dealer suddenly lost its Rolex authorized status, with all existing orders and waitlists canceled, and clients told to start fresh with another dealer in a nearby city. This shows how sudden and uncertain these changes can feel for both customers and the retailers who built relationships with them over time. In some cases, authorized dealers have gone through major store renovations or relocations, only to find they are still losing Rolex as a partner. One detailed example from watch enthusiasts online described a dealer where the Rolex display was removed and boarded up, staff members were uncertain, and inventory was transferred to another location. While the exact reasons can vary, sometimes involving redesigns or shifting allocations, the outcome is the same. The local shop no longer carries Rolex in its usual space. Many of these smaller dealers are told they must invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in redesigning their store, creating dedicated Rolex sections, hiring specialized staff, and upgrading client service areas. If they cannot afford these changes, they risk losing their Rolex authorization. Several people posted that dealers in their hometowns, some family-run for more than 30 years, have been dropped after refusing or being unable to meet these costly requirements. This situation has caused frustration among longtime customers. In some online stories, people said they had been waiting for highly sought-after Rolex models for years with a particular dealer, only to find that dealer's status changed and their place on waitlists disappeared. These customers have to restart the process at another authorized dealer, which can be far from their home and may not guarantee any better results. This disruption has left some collectors feeling uncertain about how to plan purchases and maintain their loyalty to local shops they once trusted. The effects reach beyond the local shop itself. When a big independent dealer loses Rolex status and closes or changes its business model, foot traffic for nearby stores often drops too. Smaller luxury retailers, cafes, and service businesses around these jewelry shops often benefited from the steady flow of potential customers. When the Rolex display or dealership disappears, that economic activity decreases. In towns with just 1 or 2 watch dealers, these changes spread out to affect community commerce more broadly. Some observers note that as Rolex reduces the number of authorized dealers, it often reallocates inventory to larger flagship boutiques or to major multi-brand retailers that have the financial resources to build dedicated Rolex spaces. This means smaller shops not only lose the Rolex partnership but also miss out on carrying the brand's most desired watches. That can make it harder for these smaller retailers to attract customers who are specifically interested in new luxury models. In 2024, the official Rolex affiliate in Sandton, Johannesburg, which had been there for 76 years, was closed. Although the brand continues to provide after-sales service and will expand its boutique presence through partners later on, the closure of such a legacy office shows how market evolution can lead to major shifts in how retail business is organized. For local resellers and independent shops, this can mean fewer direct brand connections and more reliance on regional partners for stock and support. The changing landscape has also affected secondary markets and pre-owned dealers. As official pre-owned programs from Rolex expand, some independent pre-owned sellers face greater competition or shifting demand. While this doesn't directly impact new watch dealers the same way, it reflects a broader shift in how watches are bought and sold and where customers go for trusted sources of timepieces. The growth of official certified pre-owned channels, for example, can draw customers away from independent pre-owned shops and into the official network. Dealers that adapt sometimes find new opportunities. For example, some independent shops are expanding their services to include authorized repairs, certified pre-owned sales, or partnerships with other luxury brands to diversify their revenue beyond Rolex. In markets where Rolex remains committed, the brand sometimes adds new boutique spaces or expands shop-in-shop presences within existing retailers. These changes can create new ways for local dealers to stay connected to the brand without carrying the full authorized dealer status they once held. If this breakdown changed how you think about luxury, let us know in the comments. How do you think these strategies Rolex has been implementing affects the brand itself, dealers, and customers? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, subscribe so you never miss our next deep dive into the hidden dynamics of wealth, status, and the brands desperately trying to capture both. Because in luxury, nothing is permanent.